The uppercase letters are so fun and so pretty, and they are not based on the basic strokes themselves. So I know for myself, when I started doing lettering, I did not learn these for quite a while into my lettering journey, just because each one is a little bit unique and not based on basic strokes. So don't feel bad if you're like, you know what, this is too much. Just stick with lowercase. You can address an envelope all in lowercase. You can do all of your things in this gratitude journal in just lowercase if you prefer that. But this is here if you do want to practice these, if you do want to work on these, it's definitely here. So let's go through each of the letters together. First is going to be the letter A. So this one is going to start with an upstroke. So we're doing light pressure up to the ascending line, and then we're coming back down, and we kind of end it in a point like this. And then we've got a crossbar. So it's on T's, A's, and H's. Next is a B. This one is going to be, again, a little stylized upstroke. We've got a downstroke, and then we've got two kind of reverse O forms here, and then loop it around to do another upstroke. C is going to have a little loop and another little loop. If that's really tricky for you, you can do something just like that. It's just a C, and that's fine. Or you can draw it this way and then after add that part. Sometimes that's easier for me than going around all the way. So sometimes I'll draw a portion and then go back and add it. Next is D. This one again is going to have that stylized upstroke. It has a little loop at the top, which is cute and fun. And then we've got our O form, a reverse O form with an upstroke. E, we're going to come around with a little loop, another little loop, and come up. So for something like this, again, this is where I would probably draw it more like this. And then after, I'll come back and add that part. For some reason, it's just hard to start here and get the loop looking right with everything else. So sometimes I'll just add that in later. And another thing that you can do, if you notice something's looking a little off, you can kind of try to go in. Don't do too much of it or it gets wonky, but you can kind of go in and re-add something if you need to. For the letter F, this one is going to be light pressure because it's horizontal. We're coming down with heavy pressure and up. And then I guess the F does have a crossbar too. There's our F. G, this is going to be similar to our lowercase g, and similar to that E and F, where I typically will add that little loop at the end. So I'll just start here and make sure everything else is looking good. And then I'll go back and add that on. Next is H. This one's also very loopy. We've got an upstroke, downstroke with a loop, up to another loop, and downstroke, and an underturn. So that one's really fun. I is going to come with light pressure up to a small loop. We've got heavy pressure, and then curve back up. J is going to be light pressure, heavy pressure, come back up. K has an upstroke, downstroke, and the two lines. So with the K, I've seen people who keep these lines thin for both, and I've seen people who add, this one should have a little bit more thickness than what I added. And I've seen people who will keep it thick on both of those because you're not moving, you're kind of moving down, but it's at an angle. So anyway, you can decide if you like the thick, or you could also just keep it thin, and that totally works as well. For the L, we're doing an ascending loop, downstroke with a small loop, and a horizontal line. M, we've got a little stylized upstroke, downstroke, overturn, and compound curve. We've got, it's just taller, and you'll notice that this one doesn't come all the way up. So that's an easy way for like on M's to make them look nice. It's just make one a little bit make one a little bit shorter than the other. So stylized upstroke with a little loop and a downstroke, and then again a compound curve like we had practiced before. The O is basically exactly the same as the lowercase o. You could do something where you come around again like that, which is really pretty and fun. We've got an upstroke on the P, downstroke, and reverse O form. That's very similar to the lowercase p. Q is going to have the same base as the O, but then it has that little line there. I think those ones are fun, how it's got the double thick, and then you add the tail. It's kind of a cute look. R is going to be an upstroke with a downstroke. We've got a reverse O form with a little loop and down. So something you can do is right here, I'm kind of holding my pen this direction. When I'm doing this down, sometimes I'll kind of change the direction of my pen from being like this to being like this way, so I can get the thick line on the down. It's really hard to do it from this angle. Next is an S. This one's similar to the lowercase s, where we've got lots of loops going on. Ascending loop, and come down like this. We could do it more like the lowercase, where we bring that over as well to connect to the next letter. T, we've got a downstroke with a reverse underturn, and then just a thin light pressure line on the top. Next is the letter U. We've got a small upstroke into an underturn, and I really missed the tracing on that one, and underturn. So let's try it again. So we've got a small upstroke, underturn, underturn. U. V is very similar to the lowercase v as well. So I guess that is one nice thing about these all caps letters, is there's a lot of similarities here. We've got an upstroke, an underturn. We've got another underturn, but it's going below the baseline. And that is a fun way that you can change up the look of the letter, is changing where the baseline is or where the ascender is just barely. It's called bouncing, and that's a really fun technique as well. Next is X, so this is like a compound curve, and we cross it. Alternate version would be like this, just changing the direction of the curves. For Y, we've got an ascending loop, or sorry, an upstroke with a small loop, an underturn, and then a descending loop and an upstroke. And Z, we've got a whole bunch of unique stuff in here. So again, this would probably be one that I might do like that, and then add a loop, has to be a little thicker. So you can kind of do that as needed, where you can go back and add things if you need. This little tip here is really great with uppercase letters. They are a great place to add some flourishing. So here's some different examples of the letter A, but just know that uppercase letters are a great spot to add that. Let me know if you have any questions about these uppercase letters specifically.